Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 4th, 2019 City Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask all of you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. There are copies of the agenda available at the recorder's desk as well as at the back of the room. We have a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve this evening's agenda as presented.
Second.
Any changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. Approval of the minutes of both the regular City Commission meeting of May 7th and the special meeting of May 9th.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to clarify a detail on the special meeting on May 9th. That's the special meeting on the housing projects, the sites that we discussed. I think there might have been a misunderstanding on this detail of age restriction, that we had a discussion, and whether we misunderstood that or not, I think as we, the commission, move forward with planning and representing the citizens of this town to develop and give vision for the best development that's appropriate for us. That is a detail that needs to be ironed out before we move further with more research. It was my understanding that we had discussed the fact that because a age-restricted housing would not necessarily guarantee that Huntington Woods citizens would have first rights to it. It is open to the entire market. In addition to that, you're limiting your opportunities for the RFP process to be able to look at different types of housing. And the fact that when I've been out in the community trying to get feedback from seniors, the definition of senior housing means something different to everybody. And the fact of the matter is that the majority of people in Huntington Woods is going to remain in their homes as they age, and we should really prioritize helping people with services and things like that to assist them as they continue to stay in the community. And there was a disagreement between what we call senior housing versus housing options for the aging population, which was the actual focus of the community survey several years ago. And I thought that that discussion had centered around this particular municipal site, looking at possible housing options that might be offering a downsized level of housing for seniors, whether it be condos or high luxury condos or higher density development. We don't know what that looks like yet, but there was obviously a misunderstanding, and I think we need to come to a conclusion on that. And in addition, Commissioner Roselle had mentioned doing another survey, and I think that would also be very appropriate in trying to look at the specifics of what more housing would mean for our community. And I just don't feel that putting an age restriction on this property is going to benefit the majority of our citizens in Huntington Woods. And we should try to also integrate land uses, including City Hall and public safety and possibly other amenities that could be senior focused, so that more of the community, more of the seniors in the community could utilize this place.
So specifically, you're asking to correct the minutes
It is on the second page, and it says halfway down, there was a discussion on whether housing at City Hall should be age restricted or not. And there's nothing else in the minutes that discusses all of us coming to a resolution on whether the municipal site should be age restricted, if there is going to be housing or a housing development on top of the public building.
Mr. Mayor, as I recall the discussion at the special meeting, and the comments I made were relative to the fact that, I've heard from folks in the community who said, we want this as a senior only, and I've heard from individuals in the community seniors who've said, I want this to be a mix, young folks, seniors, all sort of in the same development. And when we look at the three sites being City Hall and Woodward and Coolidge, that it was appropriate to consider what I termed multi-generational housing and not necessarily restrict the development. I don't know that we want to do that based on feedback I've heard from the community. So that's kind of how I remember, the discussion, that it focused on, this multi-generational concept and not limiting us to an age-restricted concept. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah. I came in thinking senior housing only. Michelle and I have had a number of discussions, and multi-generational would be just as wise. I do think, though, that from hearing a discussion that Joe and I were at last Sunday, that the city shouldn't just let contractors and developers define what that mix looks like in the way of bedrooms, etc., but that we define partially what that mix would look like, and we need to really give long-term thought to rental lease owner. One of the people from this city was involved representing the governor on the Gordie Howe Bridge. The Gordie Howe Bridge is a project where the private developers will develop it. They will run that bridge for 12 years and take all of the tolls and fees. At the end of 12 years, that bridge will be turned over to the Canadian and U.S. government. There are public-private partnerships. Obviously, we have to make it of value, but my feeling also was that by the end of the discussion, we were not limiting our thinking to senior-only housing. So maybe somehow this one paragraph could be expanded a little bit more, so it does define where we ended up, which was, I liked your words. What did you, and I'm not just thinking multi-generational, but what did you say, Joe?
The concept of multi-generational housing where there's a mix of seniors and millennials and everywhere in between, sort of all existing in the same development.
And different size units, but we make it where the whole rationale years ago was, one, when Lawrence Tech came to us, there was the opportunity to replace this aging city hall and public safety next door with something that would be more functional, where we as taxpayers hopefully would end up with no expense. The other thing is that underneath this building is a bomb shelter, which is not efficiently used. Underneath public safety, it floods and they have serious problems. We have the potential for parking beneath both of these buildings if they're reconstructed. Depending on how this whole concept developed, we might have the opportunity to actually get revenue at the end of 10, 12, 15 years to run senior programs. And as we look at the school buildings, at least SEMCOG's projections to 2045 say because everybody loves this community, they're not going to leave unless they physically have to. And if all of our homes, especially larger homes, are occupied by one or two people, there will be no place for young families with children to move to. So if we can give options to seniors, we may get more space. In any instance, we would get more property value. And anyway, if we can redevelop this paragraph.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay, I certainly do recall the discussion regarding seniors only or multi-generational. I know specifically, I expressed my opinion that I thought that was an excellent idea for Woodward and Coolidge, but I was not in favor of that for this particular project at the City Hall property as we started going through the process of developing this. So I disagree that we came to a consensus if that's what you're trying to add to the minutes. I may have misunderstood it, and if that's the wishes of the rest of the commission, and that's what the rest of the commission heard, so be it.
Mr. Mayor, let me take a stab at this if I could. I'll move that we approve the regular minutes of the May 7th, 2019 meeting, and that we approve the special meeting minutes of May 9th, 2019 by amending the minutes to add a sentence after the sentence, "There was discussion on whether housing at City Hall site should be age-restricted or not." We would add a sentence, "There appeared to be support for the multi-generational housing concept at the 3 potential development sites." And I would move that, Mr. Mayor.
Support.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to communications. We do have one communication that will require acceptance of his resignation from the Planning Commission. Hopefully with Aaron Sullivan has taken a job out of state and is forced to resign. Like a motion to thank him for the service that he's given to us and accept his resignation.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Any other comments on communications?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to comment on communication number 2, the sewer and road improvement bonds. I'd just like to point out for the benefit of the voters in this community that because of our outstanding financial management and our AA+ bond rating, we were able to secure the sale of nearly $8 million in bonds for sewer and road improvements at a true interest cost of 2.318%. So that is an excellent interest rate, unheard of, and it's a tribute to the city staff and my colleagues here for the outstanding financial management, our outstanding credit rating, and the residents are going to really benefit from this in terms of lower taxes, because that was even lower than we had anticipated being able to borrow. So I hope that that interest rate continues as we move forward and have to borrow in the future potentially, but I just wanted to let the folks know that this is a great interest rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our elected official remarks. We have our county commissioner, Helene Zach, with us this evening.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to be quick. I did bring new county directories. I don't know if they were delivered. I'm leaving some here. I also have a bag of materials from SEMCOG. I serve on the board just like Commissioner Jenks does. Their latest initiative is One Water, that we need to protect our water resources. And one of the things that was pointed out to us, there was that super sinkhole in Macomb County. And one of the things that they discovered was it was like this fat globule that contributed to the infrastructure sinking. And so there's fat retrieval bags, there's dog bags here, that you shouldn't put anything unnecessary into our water system, and we need to be conscious about that. I see on our agenda we're going to be approving funding on the local road improvement. And I do want to mention that so far, this was something that was created by a group of us, the county commission, to bring some more resources to repair roads, particularly into cities versus townships. And so far, we are doing $1.5 million this year. And since the program was launched in 2016, we've leveraged an investment of over $30 million in road repair in Oakland County cities and villages. So I think it's very exciting. And I know as I move into my budget process, my number one goal is to find money to continue this program. I do want to let you know that one of our residents, Alex Cooper, is going to get the appointment to the Detroit Zoological Authority. And I'm very excited. He's been a wonderful alternate member since the inception. And now we have the opportunity to fully appoint him, which I think is great. Other things, we have started a committee to celebrate the Women's Suffrage Centennial Celebration 2020. So there is the Board of Commissioners had a kickoff of that today. Couple of other things, the Board of Commissioners, we've won National Association of County Awards for our school drinking water stations. You'll recall that we invested $500,000 so that we can ensure our elementary school students have clean water. We also had a Healthy Lakes initiative where we trained over 100 volunteers to oversee clean water in smaller lakes in Oakland County that our county health department can't oversee water quality and test. So it was a very progressive program to be able to train, and that was something else that we had invested in during budget time. That's it for this evening. Any questions? Thank you. I'm going to leave this with Joy.
Thank you. Public participation now is the opportunity for anyone from the public to make a comment to the commission on an item that is not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll close public participation and move on to our presentation from the Detroit Zoo. I think I'm going to have to move for that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for having us this evening, and thank you to all the commissioners and all the elected officials. I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Jerry Van Acker. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Detroit Zoological Society. I've brought with me my deputy, Mr. Sabaris George, and Mr. Paul Good, who's in charge of our community and government relations at the Zoological Society. Thank you again for having us this evening. Before we get started, this is the annual review of our master plan. Just like to, if you'd allow me, just to talk for a minute about some of the events we have going on at the zoo this summer. And I've got a handout here that we passed out to most of the neighbors, but perhaps there's some people here that didn't get a copy, and this I thought would be a good time to do that. So. So this just kind of outlines what we've got going on this summer at the zoo. Starting out this Friday night, our Sunset program is our annual fundraiser. And then in Thursday, June 27th and July 11th, we'll be having Bike Safari. And these are events, the first one's family friendly and the second one's adult only. And then every Wednesday night, starting July 3rd through the end of August, will be our Wild Summer Nights concerts. And those go until 8 p.m., so not too late. And then Friday, August 9th, the Wild Beasts, Wild Wine, the annual run for the zoo on Sunday, September 8th. And then we've got a new event this year we're doing, Detroit Zoo After Hours, and it runs from 6 to 8:30, and it's for adults only and gives adults a chance to experience the zoo without their children. So, and that'll be on Thursday, July 18th and Thursday, August 15th. And then in addition to that, we do have several walks and picnics, and some of those dates are in the body of the letter there. But just as a reminder, we do follow the ordinance of Huntington Woods and Royal Oak as far as it goes to hours of operation and how many decibels we can create. So, okay, let's get into the master plan then. I think it's probably easiest. What we did this year is a little bit different because we're using some color coding. And the color coding is easy to kind of see what we've got going on. The yellow depicts projects that we've completed. The pink depicts projects that are still in the development pipeline. So you can kind of see what's been done and what's on our radar. So as far as the finished projects, the yellow, if I start to my right and work to the left, the first one is the Woodward parking lot, which was up on Woodward and borders sort of Huntington Road there. And then the Polk Penguin Conservation Center. Oh, thank you. Polk Penguin Conservation Center has been open 3 years now and has been very, very successful, and that's done really well. The next yellow there is the Edward Mardigian Senior River Otter Habitat, and we opened that last July. And that was actually there existing, but we did an expansion, so there's an outdoor habitat that was enlarged there. Down here, we put the events pavilion in. That's been several years, though. I think we opened that in 2011. Last fall, we opened to much fanfare, the new Buddy's Pizza. So that is a full-service restaurant and has been really well received by our guests and members. It's right at the member entrance, so it's real handy to stop in there on your way in or your way out and maybe grab a pie to go or something like that. So, and then as we move further to the north, I'm sure most people are aware of the tiger habitat. That's just getting wrapped up now. We expect that'll be open to the public around the first week of July. And then red pandas, we expanded that habitat almost double in size. And we opened that on December 10th of last year. We put a rope bridge across it, which has been a real exciting feature for the guests as well. Here is the carousel, and that's been open several years too. I think we opened that in 2012. As I keep going west then, giraffes. We've done quite a bit of work to the giraffe habitat. In fact, we're working on phases 3 and 4 now. So we did the yard. We added on kind of a big gymnasium for the giraffes to play inside in the winter months. And now we've expanded the plaza there, and we're putting an additional deck on. So that's improved that habitat quite a bit, both for the public and the animals. Aardvarks we expanded, so we took 2 habitats and combined that into 1. And then finally, the last yellow piece here is the wolf habitat. And that habitat was actually, we didn't have wolves. We brought the wolves in June of 2015. Worked out pretty well because the Polk Penguin Conservation Center, we had to dig a really deep hole there. So all the spoils that came out of the hole, we kept right on site, and we put them in the wolf habitat, which kind of made their habitat high with high precipice. So they like to look at a long distance and see what their prey might be, I guess. But, so that turned out well, and we kept the existing log cabin that was part of the Civilian Conservation Corps, built the log cabin in the early 30s, so it was a historical element of the zoo that we wanted to keep, and we did a really great conservation of that building. And it's been really popular for small parties and place for people to tuck into and see the wolves from that log cabin there. So what's new? All the pink areas are going to be new. So if I start again from the right and work left, the first one there is the sculpture fountain. And that's, we don't have any immediate plans for that, but it's something that's really close on our radar. The old penguinarium, we're going to be renovating that and using that, and we're not quite sure on the use, but on the master plan, we're calling it the Bat Conservation Center. That could change, though. At the top here, we've got the transit station, and the transit station on the terminus would be way on the end here by Africa. And that'll be for the tram route. And we don't have a solid plan or a real solid plan for the tram route, but it is on our radar for something in the future. Here at the Holden Reptile Conservation Center, we're going to be doing some work in there, primarily in the center of the reptile center where the alligators are. And we're going to do some work next year in there, but it'd be pretty minor. Then keep working to the left. Where the guanacos are now, just on the other side of the Ford Education Center and all the way to the barnyard, that's going to be our kid zone. So it'll be developed, and we don't have the complete development on that yet, but we're working on it this year. And we'll develop that into an area that'll be primarily for children. Looking up here, where the lions are at now, that'll eventually become snow leopards. We're not sure if we're going to do any construction there. It'll probably remain much as it is, but it'll just be a different species in that habitat. And then here is where the lions will move. And we've done some preliminary design work this past year on the lion habitat. And we're fundraising now for that habitat, but we don't have any start dates or anything like that on that area. And then eventually we'll move the grizzlies into the bear habitat, which will be all the way to the south there by the wolves. So you can see we've kind of divided the zoo into two areas. So here our conservation campus is to the far east. Those are all indoor facilities. What we try to do is with the Michigan temperatures is keep those facilities all in the front, so it's possible to take a visit in the winter or when the weather isn't so great and hit 5 or 6 buildings and really see quite a bit and just have to walk from building to building. And in the back are our ecoregions. So we've got our Asian forest, African grasslands, the Arctic Ring of Life, Nature's Cafe, and then the American and Australasian grasslands there on the southwest part of the zoo. So that's kind of where we're at. Also, you probably read in the paper, we're working on trying to develop a Great Lakes Nature Center for Macomb County. We have a facility here in Oakland County, and got the facility downtown on Belle Isle, which is Wayne County, and didn't really have anything in Macomb. So we're working on trying to find some land, primarily on Lake St. Clair, to develop the Great Lakes Nature Center. And we don't have that nailed yet, but I think we're getting close. So the zoo's attendance keeps doing really well. We released our economic impact report a few weeks ago. 5 years ago, we had about $100 million in economic impact. This past year on the economic impact report was about $170 million. A lot of that was from construction. We've done almost $90 million in construction in the past 8 years. So, got a frog in my throat. Anyway, that pretty much concludes my report. We expect our attendance this year to be about 1.4 million. Through May, we had about 400,000, so we'll do another 1 million people for the remainder of the year. Thanks, Joel.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions from the City Commission?
Mr. Mayor, do you see the price of admission remaining the same, or do you plan on increasing the price of admission?
Well, it's kind of a loaded question. I mean, it's like asking if you see the cost of food going up every year. I mean, there'll probably be some increases. One thing we have done, though, last year we introduced dynamic pricing. And with dynamic pricing, it gives the guest an opportunity to buy a ticket for anywhere from $13 to $18, so which we think is a real bargain for all the activity and everything you can experience at the zoo for a 3 or 4 hour visit. That's worked out really well. So if we say buy early and save. So if you buy early, you buy 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out, you can select a day where the costs are lower and get a better price. If you wait till the last minute, it's going to cost you more. So I think, we see price increases being modest. Our membership is currently priced at $119 for a family membership. Come as often as you like, with other discounts and other benefits. So, but to say it'll never go up, can't say that. But, even our last increase is typically, I think we hadn't had an increase in 5 years, and then it was just like $2. So,
And I think one area of great concern to our residents, one that I've certainly heard, is, as you mentioned, the tram, or the potential for this tram.
Right.
So can you maybe, I know you mentioned transit station, et cetera. Can you maybe provide maybe a little more detail, or when you would anticipate in the future that may come to fruition, and sort of how you envision that, just for the benefit of our folks?
well, first of all, the road already exists, so it's no real new construction. And the vehicle that would go on the road would be any other vehicle that you take on any other road in Oakland County, or public or private space. So be a rubber wheeled vehicle, be quiet. It wouldn't be any more disruptive to a neighbor than a car going down Huntington Road. It wouldn't be any loud audio or anything of that nature. Like I say, we've researched it. There's Ocean Engineering now has a vehicle out that's about $1 million a vehicle, which we don't have a budget for, but it's a wonderful vehicle. So if anyone's feeling philanthropic and wants to help us with that, we would love to entertain that. But we really don't have a solid plan, but we think, of course, we'd take the concerns of the neighbors and Huntington Woods into consideration before we finalized anything.
So the tram would, in essence, be in addition to the current train that runs through there?
No, it'd be much different from a train.
But I mean, it'd be in addition to it. It wouldn't be replacing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a transportation method on the north side of the zoo instead of the south side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor, for now. Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate the relationship. I think it's developed nicely over the years. We try to really take into consideration what your planning and wishes are when we do anything. And I think, we've really tried to plant up the perimeter really well. In fact, this past year, just this spring, we put in 60 trees and about 150 bushes already, and we're doing much, much more. And I think if you drive along Huntington Road for that mile, you'll see some really great improvements over the past 5 years, especially. So thank you for the relationship. We appreciate it, especially to Amy and her staff. They're wonderful to work with, so thank you.
Does the public have any comments they'd like to make to the commission?
Hi, my name is Lori Lisi. I live at 8775 Lincoln Drive. And I haven't been following the zoo stuff all that closely, but I am concerned about the tram. I don't understand actually why there needs to be another way to get down to that end of the zoo. And no matter how quiet this vehicle is, unless it's completely enclosed, I've been on the train with kids. They're loud. They do not just sit there quietly. And right now, that road has very little traffic on it, so this would be a lot more traffic. So I would have a lot of concerns about that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Solomon, 8246 Huntington. I was wondering if there's a project supervisor that is overseeing the zoo on a daily basis. At the end of the day, there's all this dirt in the road. I think this man on the end actually responded, I'm not sure. Did you come and pick up dirt?
Linda, if you could address the commission.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So anyway, today I came home, and it was interesting because there was a cloud of plastic blowing into Huntington Road, and cars that were coming in one direction had to stop because the plastic was actually into half of the road. I did take a video, but it's troubling that at the end of the day or during the day that there is not any care taken to, keep the construction out of the road, and at the end of the day, make sure that the site is cleaned up. And I can share the video because it's quite spectacular and unique. I also want to say that I object to a tram, and that concerns me. Going along Huntington Road. And I did have another question. You had asked about the pricing for the zoo, and I was wondering if there was ever any consideration to discount pricing for residents of the Tri-County areas that are contributing their tax dollars to the zoo, like the DIA. If you live in the Tri-County area and you go to the DIA, because our taxes help support the DIA, just like they do the zoo, and you have free admission. And, I was just wondering, because the zoo is so successful, and they're bringing in all these people, and they have all these projects, if that is something that, that's something that they have ever considered or will consider.
Okay, thank you for those comments, and so no, we'll make contact and get back. Anything else? Thanks again for coming in. We appreciate the update. We also appreciate the relationship and look forward to continuing to work together to in everyone's best interest. Proclamations. It's always fun to have a proclamation to read. And this one I feel is very important. This is a proclamation of the City of Huntington Woods declaring the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the City of Huntington Woods. This proclamation declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the City of Huntington Woods. We have to keep that door open because of the open meetings.
Slightly.
Well, it's open, anybody can come in, but there's a lot of noise out here.
It's okay, but the door has to remain open.
Unlocked, well, I don't,
No, it has to be open.
Let's just
whatever,
ask him to move down the hall.
you asked.
Okay. Declaring this day in the City of Huntington Woods to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and declare that we, as a country, must do more to reduce gun violence. Nearly every day, 100-plus Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average, there are nearly 13,000 homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income countries, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's highest responsibility, whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories, whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. Whereas in January of 2013, Heidi Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later, should now be celebrating her 22nd birthday. And whereas to help honor Heidi and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations was designated June 7, 2019, the first Friday in June, as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Heidi's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June 2019, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas by wearing orange on June 7th, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Mayor Paul of the City of Huntington Woods declares the first Friday in June, June 7th, 2019, to be a National Gun Violence Awareness Day. I encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Proclaim this 4th day of June 2019. Moving on to our regular items of business. Item number 1 is a resolution to approve the local road improvement matching fund.
Yes, as Commissioner Zach had mentioned, this is a 3rd or 4th year of this program where they do have money dedicated to road improvements, and we are due to receive $11,114, which we put toward the crack sealing maintenance program for the city and the county requires the city commission pass the resolution authorizing the receipt of this money.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Just a comment, I wish the county would give us more money. So it would be like 80% from the county and 20% locally. But other than that, I appreciate any money that comes to the city.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is a matter of consideration of selection of a communication consultant for the city of Huntington Woods. Amy, do you want to?
Sure. This is an item that had been discussed earlier in the year. We put out an RFQ in March. We are looking for a consultant to come on board to assist the city in 2 respects. One is to help us manage events that may involve the media. We recently had the Drag Queen Storytime event that brought national attention to us. And secondly, to help our communication committee. It's a committee that we are reestablishing to meet on a regular basis and to meet with them to take a look at our current communication strategies, our platforms, and give us advice on how to make those stronger so that we can get more information out to more residents in a quicker fashion. So we did receive quite a few RFQs after reviewing them. We are recommending that the firm of Your People be awarded this contract. Their proposal seemed to match the criteria that we were looking for in a communication consultant, and they also are available on a per-project basis that we would establish rather than a retainer basis, which is something that we are interested in pursuing right now. So again, we're recommending Your People LLC, which is owned and operated by a resident, and if the commission supports that recommendation, then we'll have the city attorney draft an agreement and to enter into contract with that communication firm.
We have a motion.
So moved.
A second.
Any comments or questions? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, in the future, I would like to see a little bit more discussion in here about the various people that put in proposals. Having raised that question earlier today and obtained some detail, this seems to be the best because it's hourly. We are not committed to a monthly fee. Some contractors propose that they be paid $3,500 a month, whether they worked or not. This is an hourly rate. Among the hourly rate proposals, this was near the low end, and we had some very, very successful experience with this contractor as well. But it just would be nice in the future if we had a little bit more of that detail.
Understood.
Any public?
And I support the recommendation.
Any public comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 was an ordinance that Commissioner Joe Rozelle brought to the city of Huntington Woods, so I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought this ordinance forward prohibiting conversion therapy within the city of Huntington Woods. 18 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico all ban this practice. 51 cities and states that don't ban the practice have taken action to ban it locally. There is a bill in our state legislature to ban this practice, but the Republican-controlled House and Senate won't allow it to come up for a hearing or a vote. The American Academy of Child Adolescent Psychiatry, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Physicians, the American Counseling Association, the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association and Psychological Association, American School Counselor Association, et cetera, all have passed statements and prohibitions within their organizations against conversion therapy and the fact that it is very harmful. Conversion therapy, Mr. Mayor, is a hateful and fundamentally flawed practice that is counter to everything that this city stands for. On issues of medical treatment for children, we must look to experts in the field to determine the relative risks and rewards. The American Psychological Association has found that efforts involving conversion therapy lead to substance abuse, social withdrawal, decreased self-esteem, and suicidal thoughts. And I believe that exposing children to these health risks without clear evidence of benefit that outweigh those serious risks is not appropriate. And Huntington Woods, by taking action this evening, will become the first city in Michigan to ban this practice. And Mr. Mayor, I would move adoption of this ordinance and that we waive the first reading so that the ordinance may be adopted this evening, as this is a matter of public health and welfare. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I would like to second that motion.
Any comments or questions? Can we waive the first reading?
Yes, if you remember our charter setup where we only require one reading, we decided to voluntarily do two, but it's not mandatory, so we can waive it if the commission desires.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, do we have the ability to enforce this?
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, as a city, without getting into
yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's a
that's
civil
fine.
infraction.
Okay, fine.
Any public comment?
Hi, Lori Lisi again, 8775 Lincoln Drive. I just think this is a great ordinance, and bravo.
Thank you for your comments. Any others? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4 is a matter of considering the extension Pleasant Ridge Library Renewal Agreement to provide library services for the city of Pleasant Ridge. An excellent relationship for how many years now? Since,
I don't know.
Yeah.
We know there was a contract
it's-
at least in 2015, so, but it's
I
been
think
going on for a long
it's
time.
almost going on 10 years, I think. There was a brief period when they switched to Royal Oak, decided that Huntington Woods was much better for their community and came back. So they couldn't. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any comments or questions? Any public comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is an annual consideration that we make adopting the approval of banks, brokers, and dealers for the city's deposits for the upcoming 12 months. Turn this over to Tim for an introduction.
Yeah, so the investment policy requires us annually to approve all the banks that we work with. Out of this list of 23, there's only 6 that we actually use right now, and there's no change from last year's list.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve the broker dealers and commercial banks listed and that they be utilized by the city for the investment of idle funds, provided that strict compliance with the city's investment policy is maintained.
Support.
Any comments or questions? Please come forward.
I'm Betsy Zobel-Tarm at 10854 Talbot. Is the list of brokers, banks, and dealers available to the residents?
Yes.
It's on the second sheet.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6 is a matter of consideration for the City of Huntington Woods to adopt the Community Engagement Plan.
Yes, we have started the process of being certified for an MEDC program called Redevelopment Ready Community, and there's a number of criteria that cities need to complete. So I'll be bringing things to you over the next couple of months. The first is that we need to have a community engagement plan, which is something that is online so that residents and developers know that we are actively going to engage residents in any kind of development process. So I had sent one in the agenda packet, and then working with Jeff and Michelle today, they had some suggestions, so you got a red line copy today and also a hard copy distributed tonight. So again, the purpose is to satisfy a requirement that for the Redevelopment Ready program, so that the state knows that we do want to engage our residents, which we do want to do, and this outlines the process for us to do so.
We have a motion to adopt the plan as presented today.
Mr.
move.
Always beat me
Gotta be
tonight, Jeff.
quick up here, Commissioner.
I know.
Second.
He's had like
You gotta
decades of practice before me. I'll second it.
Any comments or questions?
I have a comment. I really appreciate you, Amy, for taking the leadership on this. This is a program that I highly, highly recommended when I started that we get involved with, because it just opens up so many opportunities for state grants, for community development, for our community. And I think this is really great timing as we're talking about how, to better communicate with our residents. And so thank you for doing this. And obviously, it's already been beneficial in seeing that we have to also, turn in this plan as well as make sure that the adoption of the master plan is checked off. So, so far so good, and really am proud that you're taking this on so seriously and quickly.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Which brings us to item number 7, which is the formal adoption of the 2015 Master Plan Update, which somehow, even though we had a conversation about several times back in 2015, we never officially adopted.
Yes.
So, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to motion. The master plan.
Second.
All right. Any comments or questions?
And better late than never, Mr. Mayor.
Any public comment? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Is the new master plan due?
Next year.
Next year.
Very soon. Item number 8 is a matter of considering amending the 2018-2019 city budget, or year-end adjustments.
So the Uniform Budget Act requires us not to have expenditures over budget in any category, so these are year-end adjustments based on our actual usage throughout the year. You may notice in different categories, the adjustment may be more than the projected amount, to give us a little cushion, because only June 4th, we have a whole month of the year left to go. But I'll be happy to answer any questions you have on it.
We have a motion to accept.
So moved.
Support.
Comments or questions? Any comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Tim. Item number 9 is a matter of appointment of Rocco Futura as our representative and Amy Sullivan as our alternate to the Southeast Oakland County Resource Recovery Authority, better known as SACRA, for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019.
Support.
How about a motion first?
I'll motion.
All right.
Second. Oh, my God.
Any comments or questions?
Yes. Are we still a top recycler?
I'll have to check them. We do get the monthly reports. I pass them on to the Environmental Advisory Committee, but I have not checked our ranking, but I'll be happy to do that.
Any public comment? I'm assuming Rocco is willing to serve.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10 is a similar appointment to SACWA, the South Oakland County Water Authority, appointing Rocco as our representative and Amy as our alternate.
So move.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10A is another resolution. This is a resolution of the City of Huntington Woods celebrating the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, giving women the right to vote. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background across America have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of the United States in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas the women of this nation initiated the most significant women's movement in history, the need for women's suffrage. And whereas, despite the strong opposition, the inspiration and determination of women nationwide brought about this extraordinary accomplishment, the right of women to vote. And whereas on June 10th, 1919,
Thank you.
Michigan women cast their vote when Michigan voters ratified the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And whereas the state of Michigan was the second state to ratify the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. And on August 26, 1920, voters across the nation secured the right for women to vote when the 19th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States was ratified, empowering American women and declaring for the first time that they, like men, deserve all the rights and responsibilities of citizenship, stating the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. And whereas August 26, 2020 will mark the 100th anniversary of the passage of the National Suffrage Amendment, the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, guaranteeing women the right to vote. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Huntington Woods remembers and celebrates this historic women who fought for the right to vote and recognizes the courage and inspiration that these bold women to change the course of history. Be it further resolved that the City of Huntington Woods shall fly the 19th Amendment.
Don't need that alarm button.
Yes. Victory flag, June 10th, 2019 through June 14th, 2019, to commemorate the state of Michigan ratifying the 19th Amendment, and August 24th, 2020 through August 28th, 2020, to commemorate the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Passed by the City Commission of the City of Huntington Woods on June 4th, 2019. With the approval of the City Commission, I will sign this resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move we approve the resolution as presented.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I do want to point out, just for benefit of the residents, that the County Commission is working with the Oakland Intermediate School District on as part of this 100th anniversary celebration, to have the students in our school system here in the county design an I voted sticker that will be used in the year 2020. So if we have any young residents that are in school that are artists, be on the lookout. The Intermediate School District will be very soon sending out information on a contest, and the students will design an I voted sticker in honor of this 100th anniversary, and then the county clerk's office will purchase and supply all of the precincts in the county with that I voted sticker that voters can proudly wear after they cast their ballot during the year 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 11 is reports and minutes. Do I have a motion to receive the 6 sets of reports and minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, do we have a motion to approve warrant 352, subject to full audit?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. City Manager's report.
Yes, I have a couple of summertime reminders for residents from our different departments. The first is from the library. Their library summer hours begin June 10th, which is this Monday, so they're going to be open on Monday through Thursday, 10 to 9, and on Fridays, 10 to 5, but they'll be closed on weekends. Also, the Friends of the Library is having a used book sale on Friday, the 14th. And then our code enforcement department wanted to remind residents that we can't have long grass. Anything over 6 inches needs to be cut, but while you're cutting it, make sure you don't put your lawn waste bags out on Saturday or Sunday. They need to go out after 4 o'clock on Monday. And then at the recreation department, swimming classes begin on June the 17th. The Concert in the Park series begins on June 18th. The first couple will be at Burton Field. The ones at the end of the year will be at Scotia Park. And then on June 22nd will be the Run Walk Boom fundraiser for the fireworks. And you can go online to runwalkboom.com to register for that. And then the 4th of July celebration, of course, that's coming up, and all the events are listed in the Hometown Herald, which everybody should have received by now or is available online. So that's the events. And so this is Joy's last meeting. She'll be here through the end of the week, and I just want to say that personally, professionally, I've really enjoyed working.
Thank you so much.
She's unflappable, she's steady, she's calm, she's knowledgeable. She answers all my questions. She answers the questions from the residents. Going to be really big shoes to fill.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Any questions of the city manager?
Good.
Commissioners' remarks? Commissioner Olsman?
Well, I'm just going to say a few words about Joy and tell her how great she has been as a colleague, if you will, with all of us up here, and always there, as Amy said, if there was a question, an issue, anything at all, you never had to wait any length of time at all for the right answer, and always pleasant and always a really good friend to the residents of the city. So we're very grateful for everything you've done for us, and wish you nothing but the best.
You swore me into this office. That's never happened before. So obviously I haven't worked with you for as long as many of the people up here, but I have been a resident. So thank you for your years of service, and thank you for being a part of my journey, the end part of your journey, but here at Huntington Woods, but thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem Jenks.
Thank you for service not only to our community, I couldn't figure out why you were retiring, but service to 3 communities. Thank you for your leadership of the county clerks. Thank you really for multitasking and never complaining. And we just wish you long life, lots of enjoyment, and have fun.
Thank you, I appreciate that very much. I've enjoyed working here very much. It was a tough decision.
Mr. Mayor, I'll echo the comments of my colleagues and say that it's been a pleasure to work with you. You ushered in new voting equipment into our city beginning in 2017. You've done a wonderful job administering our elections here locally, and I know that as we've had to trim city staff during the financial crises that we faced, always had to take on more responsibility, and you always did it with a smile and without complaint. So I wish you the best in your retirement. You'll definitely be missed and leave big shoes to fill, no question about it. Mr. Mayor, I also wanted to comment briefly that I had my quarterly Cup of Joe resident meeting, and it was well attended. Great feedback from residents, great questions. I also appeared this past Sunday at the Senior Drop-In Sunday at the Rec Center, spoke with our seniors there and answered their questions, and we'll be working with them on some of their suggestions and feedback. I just want to remind the residents that you don't have to wait for one of my quarterly coffee hours or until I appear at a senior event to reach out. My contact information is on our city website, phone number and email. So just if you have an issue, concern, a comment about what's going on in the city, feel free to call me, and my cell phone is there, or send me an email. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Joy, my thanks as well for all your years of service to the community. You have certainly made a difference here, and we appreciate that very much. And you've sworn me into office many times. I don't know how many, but hopefully the citizens of Huntington Woods will elect me again, and I'm going to miss having you there at my next swearing-in.
Thank you so much. Like I said, I've enjoyed working here very much.
Just remind everyone to wear orange this Friday, and with that, the meeting is adjourned.